How's it going, guys? What of course you'll be seeing today is a breakdown and review of the Iron Banner dropped auto rifle in Destiny called Haakon's Hatchet. This weapon currently has a chance to drop from Iron Banner rank 5 packages, and that's where I happen to have gotten mine. But it will probably be offered at a later date from Lord Saladin as an option to buy. It dropped for me as a 311. It'll probably start as a 280 if you get it as something to buy from Lord Saladin. Statistically, the fire rate's 88%, it has an impact rating of 8%, a range of 23, a stability rating of 50, a reload percentage of 66, and a magazine size of 36. On preliminary look, the stats paint a picture of a weapon that has a middle ground fire rate and damage archetype with regard to auto rifles. It has the same archetype as the Zalo Supercell. Its range is good for its archetype, and the stability and reload are also quite good as well. So there's not a huge concern here with regard to one of the stats being terrible. With regard to PvP damage output, it hits for 16 on body shots and 20 on headshots. With regard to the skill tree, there's a ton of variability in the perks of every Haakon's Hatchet, as you might expect. They all deal kinetic damage. In terms of sights, mine happen to roll with a red dot OES, which is what I prefer and currently what I'm using in the video in the background, which is listed as an agile close quarters sight. It also rolls with quick draw IS, which, well, mine did, which offers lightning fast handling, and lastly focus lens, which is more of a medium range zoom, but for a weapon that's close quarters to maybe lower medium, I wouldn't really use that, and I always prefer the red dot sight anyway. When breaking down the skill tree, what rolled for me, and there's plenty of options of rolls here. The first perk I got was Hot Swap, which is a bit of a letdown, but what it does is it gives you bonus damage bonus accuracy for the weapon when the weapon is readied, which means when you spawn in or when you switch to this weapon, it gives you bonus accuracy. It's not the best considering that persistence is a potential roll. That's what I probably would have preferred for this weapon. The next 3 perks that rolled for me to choose from are quite good, actually, so that's where I've gotten a bit lucky there. The first is Fitted Stock, which increases weapon stability with no drawbacks. Hand-laid Stock, which cuts your range down to 12, almost halves it, but it buffs stability all the way up to 96, so an almost full stability buff. And lastly, Rifled Barrel, which increases range to about 40, but slows down your reload by about 10. And it means your stability stays about the same as what it was previously. Not 96, the previous one, like on the base roll. For my choice, I'm currently wavering on it. It's between Hand-laid Stock and Rifled Barrel. And I know most people will say Hand-laid Stock gives you nearly max stability, and that's the only clear choice. And it is currently my choice that I'm using now. But it cuts down to range. It cuts your range down quite a bit, which means you'll have to get nice and close to the enemy. And currently, with the way shotguns are, I find I'm losing more battles than I am winning them, as most of the good players can close ground on you pretty quickly. Rifled Barrel buffs your range, so you don't have to get so close to those shotgunners. But again, it cuts down your stability to about 60, as opposed to it being nearly full. I do lean toward Hand-laid Stock as of now, but I'm still testing out Rifled Barrel. Perhaps if you have an opinion on it, shoot it my way and we can test it out. The last perk, of course, for me was it was rolled with Hidden Hand. The wording of the perk is vague. It says gains better target acquisition, but I've done some research on it, and it's suggested that it increases aim assist amounts by about 10%, and perhaps, though not conclusively, increases the hitbox on the target by a small amount as well. Now, I haven't seen a significant difference because I don't have another auto rifle that doesn't have hidden hand as a comparison. But as verified by individuals that have done more research into this perk, the high fire rate weapons such as this auto rifle here tend to benefit from it substantially. So if that's good, that's good. Great. With regard to my overall impressions, in PvE, this weapon melts enemies, and it's extremely fun to use, as you can see in the background. Especially with the stability buffs that I happen to have got for this weapon. It makes a laser beam of enemy melting power. As long as the light level is high enough, it should be able to handle all PvE content, including endgame content, though you should probably be sticking to close to medium range and not really trying many long range encounters. So some situations where you're in a longer range encounter in the Taken King raid, you might prefer a scout rifle. In PvP, if you're in close range and you happen to be landing consistent headshots, enemies just melt. If you fire first and land the first shot, enemies will typically be flinching the whole time the constant barrage of bullets is headed their way, so they won't get a good shot at fighting back. With rifled barrel, the weapon becomes more manageable at medium range, but the stability and laser beam approach to the weapon is diminished a bit. It's not good at longer range, of course, and in very close range encounters, it does get bested by good players that can close ground with a shotgun. So I'd say the optimum range for this weapon is like close medium to medium range encounters, and as long as you're accurate in hitting headshots, especially with the high stability perks, it can be a beast. Overall, I find this weapon very, very fun to use, just overall in both encounters, PvE and PvP. But as of course for this weapon, I happen to have gotten pretty lucky, but it will completely depend on what role you get in terms of the perks that will determine the overall usefulness and utility in both PvE and PvP. But if you get a role that buffs stability quite a bit, this thing is a monster. Have a good one.